Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Pulse Pods. It's your favorite podcast host, DJ El Pablo. Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Pulse Pods. This is episode 30 of the Live, Love, Learn series, and actually the end of season 1 of Pulse Pods. And it's been an amazing journey to 30. And it's an episode that is near and dear to my heart because it's a topic that is not really talked about, but over the past couple of years, people have started to talk about it. And in truth, when I noticed that people have started to talk about it, I had to do a little bit more research into the topic or this topic of the episode. And I had to find out, a lot of things about what people are going through in the world today, especially in this time and season. So that's why it is near and dear to my heart. And I always like to offer the best solutions based on research and all for this topic. So let's get right into it. It's gaslighting. And gaslighting is a very, very deep and very expansive and very, what I could say, or what I will call it, very heartbreaking, kind of like touching topic and stuff to actually really go into. But I'm going to, try to do the best I can to touch it. Okay? So, let's get right into it. Okay, gaslighting. Now we're going to try to define gaslighting and then add a little bit of context to it. Now, gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation. I'll repeat. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person or group makes someone doubt their own perceptions and sanity. It involves the abuser denying, distorting, or manipulating the truth to make the victim question their own memory, perception, and reality. And it is a subtle and insidious form of abuse that can have serious long-term effects on the victim's mental health and well-being. Gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse that can have a devastating effect on the victim's mental health and well-being, and it can happen in any kind of relationship, including romantic relationships, family relationships, friendships, or even in the workspace. One of the key features of gaslighting is that the abuser denies. Like I said earlier, the abuser distorts or manipulates the truth in order to make the victim question their own perception and memory. This can make the victim feel confused, disoriented, and powerless, which can lead to a sense of isolation and loss of self-worth. Sometimes some people go through it without actually knowing, and that's why I'm bringing this to the fore, so that you can actually see the signs and know what to do and how to react when you get it, or when you get to that situation. Some people oftentimes confuse gaslighting with reverse psychology. That is slightly different from gaslighting. reverse psychology is slightly different from gaslighting. It is actually different from gaslighting, so don't confuse it. So like I said, gaslighting can take many different forms, but some of the most common examples, which I would like for you guys to actually pay close attention to, so you can know how to sense and decipher and even discern when you experience it. Number one, blaming the victim. Now, the abuser blames the victim for everything that goes wrong, regardless of the facts or circumstances. Now, this can include saying things like, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have had to react this way. The abuser blames the victim for everything that goes wrong, regardless of the facts, circumstances. For example, the victim points out that the abuser has been unfaithful. The abuser might say it is the victim's fault for not being attentive enough or being attractive enough. A lot of people go through that, especially young couples, and with maybe one of the spouses or the wife, actually the woman who just gave birth, and her body's physiology kind of changes or evolves, and then they start to blame themselves because the abuser, tends to make them feel less of themselves. Then another thing that happens every time with gaslighting, number two, is denying facts. Now, the abuser denies facts and events that the victim knows to be true, and may even claim that the victim is making things up or remembering things incorrectly. For example, the abuser may deny that they said or did something hurtful, or even though the victim remembers it clearly. So they question the victim's reality. So the abuser denies facts. I'll state that example again. The abuser may deny that they said or did something hurtful, even though the victim remembers it clearly. The third one would be minimizing the victim's feelings. Now, the abuser dismisses the victim's feelings and emotions, and may even tell them that they are overreacting or being too sensitive. For example, the abuser might say, it is not a big deal, or it's not that big of a deal, or you're making a mountain out of a molehill, which is a common phrase that people use, but gaslighters or people that abuse, the abuser actually uses similar phrases for the victim. The fourth example, or the fourth way people are being gaslit, or the abuser abuses the victim, is countering the victim's version of events. It's also kind of like distortion, but countering the victim's version of events. The abuser may tell the victim that they remember things differently than the victim, or may twist the facts to make it seem like the victim is in the wrong. For example, if the victim says that the abuser hit them, the abuser might say that the victim was the one who started the fight. It's really deep. Number 5, using verbal abuse. The abuser may use name calling, insults, and other forms of verbal abuse to make the victim doubt their own worth and sanity. For example, the abuser might call the victim crazy or stupid to make them feel like they can't trust their own thoughts and feelings. Number 6, isolating the victim. The abuser may try to isolate the victim from friends and family, making them more vulnerable to gaslighting and other forms of abuse. This can make it harder for the victim to see and seek help and support, prolonging the abuse and making it harder to recover from. Now, gaslighting can have serious long-term effects on the victim's mental health, including anxiety, depression, and even post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Now, it is important to recognize the signs of gaslighting and seek help if you or someone you know is experiencing the form of abuse. There's a variety. So therapy and support groups and other resources can be incredibly helpful in recovering from gaslighting and rebuilding a sense of self-worth. And there are so many agencies around the world, even online, that could help you deal with it if you're going through it, no matter what. Also, there are ways you can actually go about it. Like I said, there's a variety of support groups that can help individuals or victims. One of them is Survivors of Incest Anonymous, SIA. Survivors of Incest Anonymous. SIA is a 12-step program that is designed to support survivors of childhood, sexual abuse, and other forms of abuse. It can be very helpful for individuals who have experienced gaslighting and other forms of emotional manipulation. Also, number 2, Adult Children of Alcoholics, ACA, is a 12-step program that is designed to support individuals who have grown up in homes where there was addiction or other forms of dysfunction. This can be a helpful resource for individuals who have experienced gaslighting in their family of origin. Number 3 is domestic violence support groups. There are so many domestic violence support groups. Many communities offer support groups significantly for individuals who have experienced domestic violence, or other forms of intimate partner violence. These groups can provide a safe and supportive environment for survivors of gaslighting and other forms of emotional abuse. There are also therapy groups. That's number 4. There are also therapy groups. Many therapists offer group therapy sessions for individuals who have experienced trauma, abuse, or other forms of emotional distress. These groups can provide a safe and supportive environment for individuals to explore their experience and work towards healing and recovery. Online support groups as well are a variety. There's a variety of online support groups that can be helpful for individuals who have experienced gaslighting or other forms of emotional abuse. These groups can provide a sense of community and support, even if individuals are unable to attend in-person meetings. Now, it is important to remember that every individual's journey towards healing and recovery is different, and what works for one person may not work for another. But it is important to explore a variety of resources and support options to find what works best for your unique situation. And one of the final advices I can give you when it comes to dealing with gaslighting is to talk to your spiritual leader in the church, or somebody who is accountable for you. Once you can be able to have that conversation about it and start to talk about it when you've observed the signs, then you can actually find healing or be on the road to recovery, on the road to healing. It is better to find safety and live long than to die, like a man of God once said, than to die like a chicken because of emotional and mental stress or emotional abuse. It mustn't necessarily be physical. It can also be emotional. But you need to be able to deal with this with the best possible, best available resources for your health. A lot of people are going through gaslighting. I would have loved to play out some content I saw on social media, with regards to people going through gaslighting. It is a very sensitive topic, and I would like to expand on this, but I'll leave it with this. Let's assume this is part 1, but ending the Live Love Learn series, and we're going to start it up in season 2. So we're going to have to, take it to the next level with that, and I'm still doing more research on it, because I'm also going to try to see if I can feature people who have experienced it or who have known people that have experienced it and how they've been able to find their road to recovery. Because I could give you like 1 million steps, 12 steps, 13 steps, 14 steps to recovery. But in truth, so many people's situation are different, are unique. These situations are unique in such a way that it is important that you understand what your unique situation is and how to deal with it. But understand these signs and these examples and these red flags that I have given you to be a starter for you to be on your road to recovery. The fact that you can identify that there is an issue or a challenge is the beginning of your recovery, right? Also, another advice I would like to give is this. When you sense it, especially for those who are in relationships, who are just starting out, who are even in 2, 3, 4, 5 years relationships, it doesn't matter if you love the person so much. You can love someone and still die or still be going through a mental trauma. It is important that you sense these as red flags at first. Once you have deciphered these signs, you sense it as red flags and start to work your way out. The Bible even says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Start to work your way out of it and start to deal with it now before it gets worse. Like I said, this topic is near and dear to me, and I have a couple of friends who have been through it. And it is very important that you know the signs, right? And gaslighting is not gender related. It's not gender specific. It's not that, the man is always the abuser, or the woman is always the abuser. It could be anybody. It could be the man. It could be the woman. People have gone through it. Mental stress, mental disorder, mental anything, PTSD and stuff. But the truth is, it is very important that you sense these signs and find a way out as quick as possible. It is better to be alive and healthy and serve God than to die without even doing anything to make your situation better. Thank you for listening so far. Thank you for following to the end of season 1. Season 2 starts almost immediately. God bless your heart. Cheers. Thank you for listening to Pulse Pods today. We hope you've learned something valuable to help with your daily life and living. Pulse Pods is on social media, and you can literally find Pulse Pods on every social media platform where it is. Just simply search at Pulse Pods on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you could also send an email to pulsepods@gmail.com for any advert, questions, suggestions, or sponsorship. And also subscribe to Pulse Pods on all of the platforms where you find your podcasts, ranging from Spotify to Google Podcasts to Anchor, and anywhere you find your podcast, Castbox, Beta Radio, Breaker Radio, any platform whatsoever, Apple Podcasts. And just subscribe and listen, and God bless your heart.